Hey everybody, Sean here from the Sinful Cuts podcast, and I have the pleasure of introducing this week's episode. We did 1981's Joe Dante classic, The Howling, one of the best werewolf movies ever made. There are not a lot of them, but this is definitely one. And we sat down with Joe Velasquez from the FILMJOE podcast. It is fast becoming one of my favorite podcasts out there. The FILMJOE podcast does so many things right. Actually, all things right. They talk about the stars and the genres and the tropes and the themes and the box office and the directors and how the film resonated with society at that time and was it a hit or was it a miss. And they make it all so fascinating, but most important, they make it so much fun. The fun that they have is infectious. You get swept up into it, and I experienced that firsthand when I recorded with them. You just can't help it. I mean, it's like a roller coaster ride. It's so much fun, and you can't help but smile and laugh. So please listen to the FILMJOE podcast. Joe and Daisy are worth your time, and they're just so good at what they do. But they have so much fun with it as well. And, you know, we need more of that in the world, right? Fun people doing fun things so you can stuff that fun right into your ear holes. You can catch them on Spotify at the FILMJOE podcast. You can follow the FILMJOE podcast on Instagram at the FILMJOE podcast. And please don't forget about YouTube, where they're, dramatic pause, at the FILMJOE podcast. So please have a listen. You won't regret it. No money back guarantee needed because you're going to buy everything they're selling. So let's get to the Howling because we had so much fun with this. Here we go already. I can't help myself. It's so corny and cheesy, but you know I'm going to do it. Look, my head's even turning. Here it comes. Oh!
What do you see?
The Howling. Somewhere in this city, in this human jungle, it begins.
Just try. He's right there.
What do you see?
What's there, Karen?
What do you see, Karen?
What's there?
Somewhere in these woods, in this primal, sensuous, secret place, lies an experience too terrifying for words. And now, all anyone can do is watch and wait.
Tonight I'm going to show you something. Make you believe.
The Howling.
Hey, Cinners, I'm Shannon.
And I'm Sean.
And this is Sinful Cuts.
Hooray! But it is Sinful Cuts slash. It's like Deadpool Wolverine. We have a team up. Sinful Cuts slash the FILMJOE podcast with none other than Joe Velasquez is here tonight.
Yay! All right, thank you for having me on. It's just awesome.
Joe, let me tell you something. I mean, this is not blowing smoke. You are now one of my favorite podcasts. Also, favorite people. I follow you on Instagram, and I love your posts. I love everything you do. You have this, you just have this good-natured vibe about you that we were just talking off air before we hit record. And I was saying that when I listen to the podcast, I honestly feel like I'm having fun with you and Daisy. Like I'm in the middle of it. And then I get bummed out when it's over and I'm like, oh yeah, you guys are across the country. I'm not actually in the room with you.
Or wondering why they don't answer you.
Well, not a lot of people do.
Well, thank you. So, I mean, I'm glad I'm not on camera because I'm actually blushing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. No, but it is awesome to be on you guys' this show. I mean, you guys, I'm a huge fan of you guys. You guys rock. I mean, really. When I need my go-to information for horror films, you guys are it.
Aw, thank you.
Oh, please keep going. Keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah. No, don't stop.
So,
Oh my
Joe,
god.
do me a favor because I'll get mad at our sinners if they say Film Joe podcast. I've never heard of it because we have been talking about you and we promote you and we adore the podcast. But do me a favor for those one or two who are just finding their way out of a well or underneath a rock. Tell the sinners about the Film Joe podcast, when it started, what was the idea behind it, how you got this thing off the ground to what it is now.
Well, the Film Joe podcast, basically what we do is we don't do deep cuts, and deep analysis. Although sometimes it does come about, but we talk about film just in general, cursory discussion of the film, kind of like I guess when you just come out of the theater or just popped in the DVD or whatever afterwards, just discussing the movie and having fun doing so. Um, I mean, because Daisy and I, and we just love films. I mean, and just love talking about them, which is probably why I started the podcast, because I had friends and relatives that I'd always, I'd sit there at parties and bore the shit out of them for like an hour and a half talking about two movies, right? Right.
I don't know what
And
that's like at all.
no, we don't know about that glazed look on their face when they're just kind of, yeah, yes, I know, yeah, okay, and but eventually, one of my family members mentioned, you should just start your own podcast. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I mean, I have production background because I went to film school,
Oh,
and
okay.
so
Oh.
yeah. And so, I mean, I know how to put in, do pre-production, post-production, and so forth, and scripts. I mean, I got all kinds of stuff like, so I'm like, okay, let me give it a shot. But other than that, I think they were just telling me, shut up and go bore a bunch of other people on a grander scale,
Well, you certainly don't bore anyone, but that was great advice because you are cut out for podcasts. And I'll challenge you though. I know you're not on camera tonight, but I think you have a very good future in YouTube and video. I'm telling you right now.
Well, if you guys you saw my pictures online, so I don't know. This isn't a face for cameras, man. This is for.
Oh, you stop it
That's
now.
that's a lie. He's gorgeous. That's a
That's
Oh
that's a
my.
bold-faced lie.
that's baloney.
Exactly. The reason he's not on camera tonight is because he's like, look, guys, I don't want to be a thirst trap for sinful cuts. All right.
Oh, there you go. That's exactly the reason.
Secret's
gosh.
out.
Joe, you have to do us a favor though. We are so happy to have you on tonight, and of course we're going to have you back on in the future, guaranteed. But we've got to get Daisy on as well. So please tell Daisy, she's got a date with us in the future. Okay.
I definitely will.
All right. Good.
And I think her camera does work. I'm not sure, but
All right. Great. Great. This is I can't wait. I cannot wait. So. Do me a favor though. How long has the podcast been around? When did you start it up?
We started January of 23. So
Yeah.
we're about a year and a half into this now.
Yep. Okay. Because I was doing the episode count and I was like, yeah, you know what? It's just around the same. You've got about 6 months ahead of us. But yeah, we're still we're the fresh-faced newbies who haven't been ground down into dust yet in the podcast game.
Well, I first heard your podcast, and I'm like, because I used to listen to another podcast that was horror based, which I'm not going to mention, but you guys are a hell of a lot better. And then I came across yours. I'm like, this, you're more like, I guess, the Fangoria based, fan based kind of horror podcast, and now,
Yeah.
which I like because I grew up on Fangoria and Starlog as a kid.
Same. Oh my God, Starlog. Oh, Joe, you're speaking my language.
Oh man, I still have a Starlog issue with Boba Fett on it from 82 or 81.
Oh my God, cherish it, and please put it if it's not already in a sleeve with a cardboard backing. You're giving me anxiety.
Oh, it's under lock and key, bulletproof, plexiglass, the whole 9 yards.
I mean, that was my youth. Starlog magazine, Fangoria, Cinefantastique, Famous Monsters of Filmland, and just paging through those until the quarterback stuffed me in a locker.
Same here. I mean, when I was in school, I mean, kids are listening to Depeche Mode and stuff like that, and I'm listening to the soundtrack for Close Encounters of the Third Kind
Yeah.
and grooving to it.
It's so good. It's so
Yeah.
fantastic when you find your people. Yeah, I love it.
Oh,
I absolutely
oh,
love it.
that's why I love you guys. You guys are my people. I mean, that's there's. I mean, I was listening to one of your episodes, and you mentioned a film called Sorcerer, and William Friedkin,
William Friedkin.
underrated classic. I heard you talk about. I'm like, whoa. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's but let me tell you. I mean, I'm like, yeah, I was hooked from that point forward. I mean, yeah.
Joe,
Knows a thing or two about a thing or two.
Yeah, when I was supposed to be learning how to talk to girls, or learn any applicable life skill, that I was watching Sorcerer.
For like the 70th time.
Hey, time well spent, man. Time well spent.
Look, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Absolutely. So, like I was saying, you've become one of our fast favorites, and we absolutely love the podcast. I will challenge you on one thing, though. One thing that you've said so far is that you're like, you know what? We're not really taking a deep dive. We're kind of like coming out of the movie theater and talking about it. And I agree with all of that. But you know your stuff. I was listening to your review of In a Violent Nature, and when you were talking about the change of aspect ratios, I'm like, I was transfixed, because I'm like, yes, this is what I want to hear. This is what I want Joe to talk about right now. And I'm just going to put it out there. We'll challenge you. I think you take a lot deeper dive, and it's a lot more interesting, and I love it. I really, really do. You absolutely have the surface level stuff that we all do on the podcast. We like to talk about it. We like to bring people in, maybe if they haven't seen it, or feed that nostalgia Jones if it's one of their favorites.
Mhm.
But we also like to go a little, maybe, round third and, head for home and some things that people aren't necessarily all that familiar with. And hopefully they find it interesting. And you do that. And I really, really enjoy it. So I'm just giving you the credit that you wouldn't give yourself, you humble man.
Well, thanks. And I feel kind of bad because Shannon, I heard your review. You enjoyed the film, which is and I feel kind of bad because I'm cutting this one down, and Shannon loves. She liked it very much.
In a Violent Nature.
Yes, yeah.
But I understand why people would cut it down. Like I wasn't. To me, it wasn't very mind blowing. But I went in, I think, accepting what it was going to be, and it was pretty much what I expected it to be. Like it's
Right.
I got the vision, like,
Mhm.
and I'm like, okay. I didn't really think it was mind blowing, but I don't know. I went in just expecting what I got, and
Okay.
yeah. It's so it was yeah. I don't know. That's really all I can really say about it. So
Right. Yeah. Well,
I definitely I didn't hate it. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely was able to appreciate his artistic approach and what he was trying to do,
Right.
which was very. I mean, kudos to Chris Nash. He knew. I mean, he had and you know what? It's ballsy. I'm going to make a slasher film, and I'm going to do it this way. I mean, we're used to Jason Voorhees and stuff like that, and that kind of pacing, and he took a different approach, and I get that took balls. It really did.
Yeah.
He got the sequel. They just greenlit the sequel. So he's got
I
that
saw
going
that.
for him. Yeah.
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 That
Shannon,
I'm upset about.
Well, Shannon, can I offer a bit of advice? Could you reach out to Chris Nash's people and see if they'll put your quote on the poster? This wasn't as bad as I thought. Shannon, sinful cuts.
It was pretty good.
It was
stayed
all
awake.
right.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, all right, Joe. Before we get into Howling, and look, you do all sorts of movies. It's not just horror. You definitely lean toward horror, which I love because that's our genre. But you talk about all sorts of films, which I absolutely adore. But I do want to get your take on something. 2024 in our opinion, we think that 2024 has been a pretty solid year for horror so far, especially independent horror. We're talking about Immaculate, Late Night with the Devil, In a Violent Nature. I mean, Abigail was really the only, quote unquote studio movie that we've really had so far.
Right.
I'm going to see Oddity on Shannon. There it is again. I can't pronounce that word without sounding like a
Yeah,
weirdo.
I was like, you like to pronounce every
Oh,
letter.
I'm going to go see Oddity, and I'm going to go see Longlegs on Thursday. But this year has really been the year of quiet horror that's making a really big impact, especially at the box office.
Right.
Because these are small budget films, and they're not like making, oh my gosh, it's $1 billion. But when a $10 million movie like Longlegs makes 20 million in its first weekend, that's exciting.
Oh, it is. It is. People always focus on numbers. They don't look at the actual ratio of, well, it cost this much, but it made that much.
Yeah.
And these films, just like In the Violent Nature, Longlegs, and so forth, wow, they're doing it's amazing. I agree with you. There has definitely been an uptick in quality and content in the horror genre in film, which is awesome.
I think we're going to end 24 and we're going to look back and we're going to say this was a really, really good, solid year. And we're only halfway done. I mean, we've got a lot more coming up. So I'm looking forward to it.
And
I'm sorry.
No. I was just gonna say, like Sean and I keep saying how we're used to, like, every year, like, oh, this is the year of the vampires, this is the year of the remakes, this is the year of the found footage or what. Like it's I feel like there's like a similar theme, like, for most of the years that I can recall, and this is like the first year that it's like there's something out there for everybody. It's like literally when they used to sell like loose candy and you just poured it in a fucking bag and you would get it by the weight because that was safe, but whatever. Anyway, spoiler alert, I literally got a sugar rush to the point where I almost fainted by doing that, and because I was shoveling it in my face. Yeah. Scared the shit out of my mom. But anyway,
the diversity of horror is just, I mean, it's kind of reminiscent of the 80s. You had, the indie studios ruled it. You had you had Canon, you had African Embassy, Hemdale, New Line Cinema when they were tiny, and that's just a few. And these films were just pumping out these independent. Well, back then they were called low budget films, but were kind of frowned upon. Now we call them indies. Now they kind of it's the same thing. But back then I remember the whole connotation with the term low budget film was it's going to be a shit film. It's low budget. No, those are some of the best.
Yeah, low budget films, they proved their worth.
That's what we're finding out on now. Yeah,
Halloween is a low budget film. Like there's many low budget films that have like definitely proven their worth. Blair Witch Project, Paranormal Activity, whether you like them or hate them. Obviously those are just a few examples that off the top of my head, but whether you like them or hate them, you cannot deny the legacy that they created.
I mean, guys, look at the. Oh, sorry, Joe. What were you going to say?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, look at what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the Howling from 81. And 81 was really, we were at we were climbing up to the pinnacle of slashers, So we're coming off Halloween, but we've got Friday the 13th. We've got My Bloody Valentine. We've got Prom Night. Jamie Lee Curtis is in a Terror Train. She is just. But to Joe's point, these were, boy, were they looked down upon as like street trash, Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
It's so funny how time kind of changes everything, and we look back on them now, and that is it's just this incredible buffet of horror goodness that, I guess as horror lovers, we all always loved. But now they're respected and they're looked at in a completely different light as independent movies, to your point, Joe, as independent film. And I'm like, and I love that for them. But at the same time, I'm like, you mother effers couldn't disparage these movies enough back then. Joe, this is a true story. you know, Shannon and I are from New York, and back then, Silent Night, Deadly Night came out,
Yes.
and oh my, I mean, it was like, you know, the Catholic Association was condemning it, and these people were condemning it. I had to take the train into Queens to go see that movie because I couldn't see it
Wow.
in my hometown. They wouldn't
Wow.
show it, and they were picketing it. And so I jumped on the train because I'm like, nothing's going to stop me from getting my Christmas special on. But that's what it was like back then. And I mean, I was too chicken and too young to venture into Times Square, which I kind of regret, even though I probably would have ended up in someone's stew. But yeah,
You
but
would
I
have been
do.
fine.
I
You'd be
mean,
fine.
I mean, I look
Somebody's
like
dinner, but yeah, he'll be fine.
Oh,
hey
yeah.
guys. Picture me walking down 42nd Street looking for grindhouse movies. I looked like Nicholas from Eight Is Enough. You know? But I do regret that I never really took that chance to go in there and see some of those grindhouse classics when they were actually happening in real time. You know, it
Yeah.
would have been fantastic. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was lucky. My folks were like, because we, you know, they were I guess, the golden age of cable television, you know, and
Mm,
during the summertime, I would go to sleep at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning watching all kinds of stuff, and you know, I was never discriminating. If it was on, I'd watch it,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
and I would come across some, you know, anything from drama to horror, to action, anything that was on. I mean, I remember I was 14, 15, watching Cronenberg's Eraserhead, and scratching my head and like, what the hell am I watching? But I watched it. I was
You
somehow
watched it.
just
Yeah.
yeah, and you know, it's a strange film, but it's a beautiful looking film.
Well,
Mhm.
that's the great thing is that you were like, you know what? I don't know what this is about. I might not ever figure it out, but I'm going to give it a chance. And
Yeah,
you kind of you grow your film vocabulary that way, you know?
Yeah.
yeah. I
So
mean,
I
that
have
was
a
Yeah.
the first.
question.
Yes.
No, so I was just gonna because I know we did a past episode on American Werewolf in London, and
Yes.
normally we ask all of our guests, you know, why the movie that they picked. So you actually reached out to us saying, you know, like, oh, I would love to know your thoughts about that on the Howling.
Oh yeah.
And that's when I was just like, well, I would like to know your thoughts too. So why don't we just have a conversation together? And here we are. So why the Howling?
Well, because it is a werewolf film, capital letters underscored all the way across.
Mm,
It's almost like Dante's love letter to the werewolf genre. It's creepy. It's borderline cheesy, but it's not. And that's because he directed it with respect and with love.
Mm-hmm.
And even down to it would normally come off corny or cheesy, the organ music and some of the sequences, you know,
which I love.
da-na-na.
I love that.
And I was,
Yeah.
and I shit you not. I mean, I got goosebumps when I was rewatching it when that, you know, the music comes on, and so it is it's a true horror film. I mean, I'm sorry, it's a true werewolf film, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And what a cast! I mean,
Perfect.
Patrick
Oh yeah.
McNee, Christopher Stone, Dee Wallace, Slim Pickens, and David Carradine. Just
Yeah.
an amazing cast. Although this is just the film geek in me. Every time I see Slim Pickens in a film, I can't get the vision of him, you know, like get it out of my head when he's coming down on that nuclear missile.
Dr. Strangelove.
Dr. Strangelove, you know, waving his hat. Yahoo! I'm like, okay, but I love Slim Pickens, man. He was amazing. So he had
And
just an amazing cast. And
Joe,
you
doesn't
know,
it feel like Slim Pickens was in every movie ever made during the 70s into the early 80s? He's in everything.
yes, and you know, he played the same guy every single time. Oh, except in this one, he was a werewolf, but still, you know, same dude. And of course, oh, wait a minute, Dick Miller. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. I've got some Dick. Wait, let me isolate that, and that'll be the title to the episode. I've got some Dick.
I was like, you know what? I'm not going to say it. I'm going to see if he realizes it.
No, you
I was
super jerk. You
gonna let it
super
rock.
jerk. When I said it, I saw your eyes light up. You were like, "Oh, he said it. That idiot said it out loud. I can't wait to isolate this audio.
Oh, it'll be on my Instagram.
Dick Miller. Trivia for you two. So
Okay.
he plays Walter Paisley in The Howling, and he's played Walter Paisley in about 6 other films. It started with A Bucket of Blood for Roger Corman. He's done The Howling. I wrote him down here. What's he got? Bucket of Blood, Hollywood Boulevard, The Howling, Twilight Zone the movie, Chopping Mall, Night of the Comet, and Shake, Rattle, and Rock. He all played Walter Paisley. So it's like this
Wow.
in joke that, because it was like the Roger Corman through line, because Dante worked for Corman, and then Chopping Mall was, I think, Corman's daughter. So they just kept sticking Dick Miller in there, and he's
Oh,
always
wow.
Walter Paisley, and I friggin' love that.
Oh,
I love stuff like that.
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've ever since I was, started watching film in the 80s. Well, I started watching, believe it or not, I was like 5 years old. I started watching movies.
Yeah.
And I was just stuck on the TV. And
Yeah.
but Dick Smith, man, the Terminator,
Yes. Yeah.
he was in that, and I just love it. His accent, his attitude. He's all just attitude driven. Love Dick Miller. Everything he was in.
He just has one of those faces too. It's like
Yeah.
he can come off as the crankiest man in the world or the most lovable man in the world, all in how he sets his face, And then we've done our Gremlins episode, but as Mr. Futterman, he's unbelievable. He's just unbelievable.
Oh,
So
yeah.
a lot of love for Dick on this podcast. All right, you two.
Okay.
Let me get myself off the hot seat. Let's start talking about The Howling. And by the way,
Yes.
Joe, I love everything you said about it. This is a capital W werewolf movie. It is a
Yes.
love letter from Dante. So we'll do some of the development. You got this guy. This guy owns a bunch of theater chains, and he wants to be a producer. Stephen Lane. So he buys the rights he finds out the rights are with Columbia, and he buys the rights. And now he's like, all right, what do I do with it? So he gets, Dante gets involved, and they try and crack the code on this book. And it turns out that the book is really hard to adapt, and it's not working, and Joe Dante's got enough, he's following his gut, and he's like, it's not there. It's not there. It's not there. Let me bring in my guy who wrote Piranha, who's John Sayles.
Right.
John Sayles is one of the most amazing script writers and directors.
Yes.
He's talent for light years, but he knows genre. I mean, he wrote Alligator, he wrote Piranha, he wrote The Howling, and here's a guy who could really rest easy on being like a classic indie filmmaker, almost like a Soderbergh, like really get dine out on that indie cred and leave his horror past behind. But he never does that. He's very proud of his horror work, and he's really proud of these genre pictures, and I love him for that. I mean, John Sayles is just cool as hell, but the fact that he doesn't run away from it, I think, is it says a lot about him.
Yeah. Well, have either of you read the novel by, I think it was Gary Bradner, I believe it was? Gary Bradner.
I read one. I read Quintana Roo when I was a kid, but no, I never read The Howling. Is it any good?
It is really, really, really good. I started.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. And one thing I was really impressed with the film is that they adapted really well. It's very true to the novel. I mean, they change a couple of things. I don't think she's a reporter in the book.
Okay.
But the gist is the same. She has a traumatic experience, and they recommend that she goes to this retreat and so forth, and then all hell breaks loose from that point. But it's basically very, very true to the novel, especially most importantly. It's not about, I guess, situations or scenarios, or it's like, oh, this happened in this, but the feel, the tone, it's there from the book.
All right, you guys might disagree with me on this, but there's almost like and it's the orchestral music. There's almost like a fairy tale quality to it. When Karen gets to the compound, when she gets into the wilderness, and that whole section of the film, it's almost like there's almost like gauzy filming to it. It's very lush just because the surroundings. To me, it always felt like almost like a fairy tale quality, or like a Grimm's fairy tale. Like
Right.
it's not Disney, it's Grimm's, and anything could happen, and it's probably going to be pretty bad for everybody involved. But I really, really love how we go from the city setting, to this beautiful California, countryside, and it's a completely different movie at that point. And you're like, all right, where are we going here? And I watched a couple of interviews with Dante, and he's like, we did that purposefully. We really didn't want to go full werewolf until we got to the point where we were like, we're gonna go full werewolf. And that third act, I mean, you get your werewolf's worth,
Oh.
I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah. Well, you're right. There's a definite tonal shift, and not only with the soundtrack, but visually in this everything. You got the gritty city, and which, by the way, that porn place that she goes to,
Mhm.
I grew up maybe 20 minutes away from there.
Get out.
When I was, yeah, and which disclaimer, I never went. Okay, I was too young. But yeah, I lived about 20 minutes from it. And let me tell you, that was the 80s. That's how it looked.
Yeah.
In fact, that intersection was pretty much right before you get onto Hollywood Boulevard, onto the Hollywood Strip.
Oh,
So-
okay.
Okay.
They said they found the porn store as is, and that's why
Yes,
Dee Wallace they said that they would put like stickers, like price stickers, like in certain spots to try to cover a little bit, like just for like camera purposes. But for the most part, Dee Wallace was extremely uncomfortable, and you can absolutely see it on her face.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't comfortable going through it as a kid. I mean, that whole area was, right across the street from that was a now defunct theater. They don't have them anymore, called the Pussycat Theater. And there was a chain of theaters that showed adult films. There was one right across the street from there. There was that shop there. Down the block, there was more porn shops. And then the further you got into the Hollywood Strip, it cleaned up, of course, when you got towards all the theaters.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, I mean, you walk through there, just drive through there. You want to take a shower with with bleach and stuff. It was bad.
Yeah.
I love how you said that was the 80s. That was the 80s here in New York too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
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 But it's
We
cleaned
had-
up, so it's
It's a hell
Yeah.
of a time.
We had the Pussycat Theater here in New York as well. I used to meet Dick Miller there all the time. It was fantastic. Disclaimer for Dick Miller's family, that never happened. I'm just joking. So, all right, let's start talking about some of the mechanics of the film.
Yeah.
First off, I don't think there's ever been a better serial killer name than Eddie Quist.
Oh.
It starts and ends there. Eddie Quist, you're done.
yeah, yes,
Even Hannibal Lecter, sorry, Eddie Quist is better. But
yes.
let's talk about some of the practical, which I think, and we guys, there's no way to avoid it. We can let's do the comparison between American Werewolf, which, is probably my second favorite movie, but I have deep, deep love for The Howling. That the story in The Howling is better than American Werewolf from London. In
Yes.
my stupid dime store opinion, but there is an actual story to The Howling where there's more just things are happening to poor David Kessler in American Werewolf from London. Like he's finding out, oh, I'm the bad guy, and that's the whole movie,
Right.
But there's actually things going on here with Karen in her marriage, with her, I guess, tangentially in her career, but mostly, I mean, the relationships and this trauma, Shannon, like you said, her selling her discomfort in the beginning is very real, but it translates. Dee Wallace is such an unbelievable actor. That
Amazing.
like PTSD that she has in the beginning, it goes all the way to the end when she stands up and she's trembling in that werewolf makeup, and your heart shatters for her. Because this is a Grimm's fairy tale. It does not end well for our protagonist. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I guess it's what they call dramatic or ironic. What is it called? Tragedy or something. Where you see it coming, or the characters don't. This is
Oh,
not going to
yeah.
end well for her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dramatic irony.
because
Yeah.
she almost got away, right? It's like
Yeah.
she got bit like in the car.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I mean she got bit and they shot him, and then they were good, and they're like, all right, let's get home, but we have to, so but now she knows, okay, now I know I'm bit, so we got to prove it to the world somehow.
And
And
Shannon, who bites
yeah.
her?
It wasn't her husband.
It was
Her
her
husband.
Yeah.
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 Cruel
And
irony.
Mm.
Yeah, and going back to the cast, I mean, I think it's the cast that elevates this film to another level. I mean, again,
Definitely agree.
Dee Wallace, Christopher Stone, just I love those two. And unfortunately, we did lose Christopher Stone some years ago.
Yeah.
An amazing actor, loved his work. I think they were married either before or right before The Howling.
During, I think they
Ooh,
were.
during?
I'm pretty sure they were. Or I don't know if they were already married, but they were. I know they were a couple.
Yeah, because guys,
Yeah.
she's Dee Wallace in the movie, and he's Chris Stone. But then afterwards in E.T., she's Dee Wallace Stone. So maybe it did happen afterwards.
And was she that in CUJO as well? Because they were in CUJO together too, weren't they?
Oh man, we have
Yes,
to do
yes.
CUJO, guys.
Oh, yes.
I really want to
Except
do CUJO.
except she was cheating on him.
Ah!
Turn the tables. Actually, I just picked up a CUJO T-shirt at the Comic-Con. Just
Nice.
one of my
Solid.
all-time favorites. Love CUJO.
Oh,
Great
all right.
movie.
Joe, sorry, buddy. We're getting you back to do CUJO. We're
I would
locking you
love
in.
to.
All right, all right. You and I, we'll work out the particulars. We'll do it later on in the fall, but we're definitely locking you in for CUJO because I'm
You gotta unpack
dying to
that
do
one.
that movie. Yep. Okay.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah,
yeah,
because I can go on forever with that one as well. So yeah, that's
Nice.
amazing. Yes, love that one.
All right. Sorry. So back to the Howling because now I'm getting all excited about CUJO. Back to the Howling.
Next episode.
Yes.
Shannon's got all because Shannon, you and I have already talked about this. I know you've got the good story on the Rob Bottin, Rick Baker. You got your chocolate and my peanut butter. None of which is
Oh.
either one of their faults, but
No.
yeah,
What-
unpack the story for us.
Yeah, well, so what happened was Rick Baker, he began to work on it, but when Joe Dante asked him about his movie, and he literally actually already knew it then, Rick Baker was like, ooh, I was kind of already asked to do a werewolf movie, but American Werewolf in London, it was just like, whatever, The Howling just kind of jump-started first, basically,
Right.
as far as, pre-production and, whatever goes. But then right when he started everything and had everything, I don't know how far he got, but like you can definitely see stills of him already working like a really decent looking cowl and putting the hair on some things. So I feel like he got pretty far, at least as far as like the foundation goes for the look of the werewolf.
Okay.
But then he finally got called in and he was like, I got to go do my original, he already said yes. So that's why he left. It wasn't anything bad, really. It wasn't like, oh, they had creative differences. They got into a fight or like, it really wasn't anything like that. Joe Dante kind of hired him knowing he might lose him. I think he was just hopeful that, like, oh, maybe they'll, like they didn't start yet. Maybe they'll go next year. And then somehow it probably launched when they heard, oh shit, they're making a fucking werewolf movie.
Yeah.
Right.
That's probably what happened.
Landis
That's
was like,
probably-
I'm not letting Dante get the goods,
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, from what
Yeah.
I heard also was that once Werewolf in London got its funding that it needed to complete, that Landis called him up. Rick Baker say, "Oh, dude, we're ready to roll on this."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm working on The Howling," and apparently Landis he lost his shit, and he's like, "Whoa, did you tell him? Did you do this effect over there? Did you explain? Well, you know what? Get your ass back out here to London right now, or you will never work in this town again."
Okay.
The rest is history.
And here we are.
Oh, and two of the
But-
greatest werewolf movies ever made.
Yeah,
Guys,
like we yeah, like and then Rob Bottin took over for and worked with what Rick Baker started.
And did some
Um
amazing, amazing work.
yeah, we really got, because I obviously everyone's going to compare the two. Like you really can't help it.
yeah,
But I really like to think of this time frame as it's two sides of the same coin, where one
Mhm.
is literally tails, the other one is literally heads, because we get two really cool, completely different werewolves.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
to me, it's not even like, oh, who did it better. To me, it's like, no, I feel like we got an actual like fucking wolf vision, and then we got the wolf man, but a newer aged version
Right.
type, prototype or whatever.
Joe,
But it was just, I don't know.
we talk about this all the time, how, and it's very particular to horror, and you probably experience it yourself. When we talk about horror and people get into it, they always have to compare and be like, which one's better? Which one's better? And Shannon and I are always like, why can't we love them both?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
let's just love it
Oh,
all.
absolutely. There's enough love there for both. Exactly. Uh,
I start singing
but
the peanut butter and jelly. It's like, yeah, you just smash them together, and I'm just gonna eat it all at once. It's
But it's
fine.
like a
It's
knee-jerk reaction. Horror people and film people in general are just like, no, you got to pick which one is it? Which one's better? And
right.
it's like, no,
yeah.
I love them all. But guys,
Uh,
how about the insanity that there hadn't been a fucking werewolf movie since like the mid '70s, and then all of a sudden in 1981 they're like, there's two of them, and we have to do them right now. And you make your choice, Rick Baker. What's it going to be? He must have been like,
Right.
how? Why is my life? How did this happen? That there hasn't been a werewolf movie in almost 10 years, and now
Yeah.
Right.
I have to pick, because he would have had both those gigs, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Mm-hmm.
love that
Wow.
Rob Bottin got it,
Yeah.
because I think that he may have been working. Maybe he was already set for The Thing, but maybe that did help him to get The Thing.
Yeah.
I don't
I
Oh
think it
yeah.
know.
did help.
I think it
It
helped. I
definitely.
think it helped
Yeah.
him for sure.
Yeah.
All right, can I
Yeah.
tell you guys a quick story about Joe Dante talking about the transformation scene, the Eddie Quist iconic transformation scene? So
The.
so they've
Yeah.
got $50,000 for the FX. That's all they have. Which so they're stretching it thin. They put all the money into the Quist transformation, and it's glorious. It's very, very long, because this is what they use to show the producers, so the producers can then go and get the exhibitors. And it works like gangbusters. They're selling this damn film all over the place. The producers come back to Dante and say, this was fantastic. You can't cut a frame of the transformation. And Joe Dante's like, it's so insanely long. You have to let me cut it. And they're like,
And they're like, now.
you forget, it's deals off. If you cut a single cell of this celluloid, forget it. So he's like, that's why the transformation, and he's like, I will admit it and I will cop to it. The transformation goes on. You could go get a sandwich and come back. You could go get your car washed and come back, and Eddie Quist is still bubbling and popping. And he's like, yeah, I just, I wanted to sell my film, so we just kept it in. So long story short, too late. But they cut the film together, and Dante's like, you know what? I kind of want to I want to audience test the transformation. So he goes in their offices. There happened to be like a classroom down the hall, and he grabs a kid, like teenage kid. And he's like, come here, I want to show you something. And he shows him the transformation scene. Now it's cut into the film. And he kind of wants to get a vibe of like, maybe I'm going to get away with murder. And the kid will be like, no, it's great. It works. It's not too long. And the kid goes, this is so long. Why doesn't she just run away? And Dante was like, fuck!
They
then-
never run away. They all have to stay and watch.
Well, it's an amazing sight, right?
It
You gotta hang in there.
It's like
But
you bring up like the old school cameras, like
Yeah. Screw that. It goes on so long, you could have one of those old timey with the gunpowder.
no, yeah, but to me, it was just glorious to watch. I mean,
Oh,
I got that as well. I was like, yeah, it's a little long, but I don't care. I'm loving every single frame.
We need to give a shout out to Robert Picard, who would then go on Picardo, who would then
Picardo,
go
yeah.
on to be a Joe Dante regular, and I love him. But he was the only one who would sit for the makeup. They tried other actors, and they're like, I'm suffocating. I can't.
Mhm.
And Robert was the only one who hung in there, and I think he really generated a lot of goodwill from Joe Dante, and that's why
Mhm.
and he's probably just a super fantastic guy as well. But that's why
Yeah.
he's a regular ensemble player in his films. But
Mhm.
shout out to Robert. That couldn't have been
Yes.
easy at all.
Oh,
No.
no. Not at all. I mean, you've seen Inner Space, right?
Oh, I love Inner Space. Joe, don't get me started.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
We're still
Another
talking
episode.
about the Howling. We're still
Yeah.
talking about the Howling.
I'm
Come
sorry.
back. Come back.
Okay. But yeah, no, his performance as Eddie Quist, I mean, that is one of the creepiest. Just, I mean, oh God, the camera gets close in on him. You see his lips, he's licking his lip, and you're just cringing. It's disgusting. It's horrible. And oh yeah, it one of the best. I don't know, everything, I guess.
Joe, it's too good to pass up at this moment right now in the podcast. Sinners, here's a little clip of Eddie Quist and Dennis Dugan when he's calling him Bright Boy and he's doing the transformation. So I'm gonna drop this in right now because it'll be great for anyone watching on YouTube. They can check it out because it's such. Joe, you're right.
Oh,
Hello, Bright Boy. Eddie? You know me, and I don't know you. Now, why is that? Where is she? Why? Was she your girlfriend? Where's Terry? Just down the ritual center, down the path. That's where Wagner sends us to, unwind. He's so repressed. What did you do to her? She's got a sexy voice. I like a woman with a sexy voice. Listen to this part here. Crazy. Oh, I'm much more than that, Bright Boy. I'm much more. Here. Take it. Call it a gift. Come on. Come on, Bright Boy. Don't you know anything?
The scene where he murders Terry is
yes.
heartbreaking and it's so good. But the scene where he's with Dennis Dugan, where Dennis Dugan gets Terry's revenge and kills him, oh, that's
Yeah.
so good too.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's
Hashtag
what?
justice for Terry.
I want to watch it again now, man. I mean, I'm really getting into it. I love this.
Yeah. What another interesting thing I found about like the story is how so they changed the lore, a lot of it, right? Where they took out the full moon thing, they took out
Yeah.
the time limit, like they took a lot of that out, and the only reason why they did that, they wrote that in. Joe Dante talks because he's like, yeah, because we didn't have a lot of money. it was budget constraints.
Yeah.
So he's like, I didn't want to put a timeline or a time, on anything like, oh, the full moon's out. Fuck, now they have to be werewolves.
Yeah.
So he had a vision to go with the story as best as he could. Like you said, like it does kind of take a switch where it is more about, the people and, a woman dealing with trauma. And it's a genuine, story until it turns into, like a creature feature, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it would have made it a little too busy or too convoluted. Have they thrown in more of the lore? Because a lot of werewolf films, they make it part of the part of the story.
Yeah.
They integrate the lore. And I mean, Dick Miller pretty much sums it up in that one scene where he talks about the silver bullet. It's this is this and this and that. Okay, let's move on. Let's keep
Yeah.
it simple. and I
The
love that.
economy of good filmmaking. This is only a 90-minute movie, and it goes. And Shannon knows that's just my love language. Let's keep it going. 90 minutes in and out, and a good
Get
story.
to it.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Sometimes when writers try to integrate too much of this, to me, it comes across as a bit pretentious when they, well, let's throw in this and this, and we're going to put a theme and an underscore to the, you know
Yeah,
what?
you try too hard. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
yeah,
It
you
just gets,
overthink it.
Guys,
yeah.
I'm a complete hypocrite. You know I'm going to see Nosferatu. That fucking movie is going to be 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'm going to love every frame. I'm a
Oh,
complete
yeah.
hypocrite, but I do love a nice, tight, give me 90 minutes. And, oh boy, I dine
Yeah.
out on that.
Yeah. Nosferatu's, that I'm totally stoked for that one. I can't wait.
That's going to basically be like the anchor of the year because I think we have a Christmas Day release. So yeah, we're going to wrap it up. Our 2024 retrospective. We'll finish with Nosferatu, but we got plenty of time left on the clock. A couple of months left, especially spooky season
Mhm.
starting.
Mhm.
So we got some good stuff there. But yeah, to do a call back to this is a great year for horror. We're going to end strong for sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Oh yeah.
absolutely.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All
What do you guys think of the sequels? No, just like a quick sum up of like all the sequels because I never saw any of them, but I did a quick like rundown of like what they all have to offer, I guess is the best way to
Okay.
put it. And
I saw,
it's interesting what I
yeah,
found out.
Yeah.
there's like 4 sequels.
I heard
And
there's 7.
Yeah, there's
There's
more, Joe. Yeah, they
7.
go. Yeah, they go. Keep
oh
going.
God.
There's even a recent one that I heard is god awful. I don't want to, I hate, judging. We hate judging movies, but that's what I heard.
No, but bad is bad. I mean,
Yeah.
and let's be honest. I mean, I saw The Howling 2. I was so excited. Again, having come off the first one, loved the first one, read the book. To me, it defined what a werewolf movie is. And when the sequel came out, I was all down for it. And I think the subtitle for that was "My Sister is
It's
a Werewolf."
It's a werewolf. Yep.
Good God, the title itself should have told me something. And it was bad, and they just got worse and worse, unfortunately.
Yeah, I heard
There's-
the third one had like were kangaroos or something.
Okay,
I'll go
that
to-
was funny. That was
I'll go
funny.
to bat for 4. I'm pretty sure it's 4. I'll go to bat for 4, and I'll tell you why. It's actually like a murder mystery, a contemporary murder mystery in a castle, and you don't figure out who the werewolf is until the end.
Okay,
It's
that's fun.
it's not bad. It is The Howling Part 4, so I'm just gonna put it there. But as far as the point of diminishing returns with the sequels, this one might be just like it's coded out, and you get that one little boop. That could be it
Okay.
for The Howling 4. But yeah, I think we can all agree it begins and it ends with Dante's Howling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Andy Machete is supposed to be doing a reboot.
Oh.
But Andy Machete is attached to 7 reboots right now, so who knows?
Who knows if it'll fall through? Yeah.
Well,
Um,
I mean, so long as because I'm a purist, I'm a traditionalist. If they keep it practical, I'm good to go.
I'm with you 100%. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
Which they
CG.
won't. It'll be upsetting. They won't, so it will
Yeah.
upset us all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Um, I do feel like there's gonna be a little bit of a werewolf-assance in the near future. I have nothing to base that off of, but I just know our friend Nat Cassidy has got a werewolf novel coming out that's supposed to be gangbusters and redefine what a werewolf story is.
Ooh.
So I'm putting it out there into the cosmos. It's time to re-examine the werewolf movie. We get vampires every year. Sometimes we get a lot of it, sometimes we get a little, but they're consistent. Come on, let's take a crack at some good practical werewolf, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, I know there's one that's out now with Kit Harington, The Beast Within.
The Beast Within.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to check that out this week, and I'll be dropping a flash review hopefully Saturday.
Ooh.
All right, Joe, I was going to check it out. I'm actually going to wait for your review, and then based off that, I will know if I'm going or not.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it looks really cool. It's atmospheric. It's creepy. It looks good. Again, I may be able to
Good-ish
forgive it.
things.
If it goes CG, I may forgive it if it's good. I mean, if it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I enjoyed the first two Underworlds, I mean they had to use CG
Oh yeah.
in
Yeah.
certain spots, but I know they really tried those are, guys walking around in big gigantic fucking suits
Yeah.
Right.
and stilts, so
Mhm.
like I appreciated the effort. I honestly really enjoyed those movies. So
Shen,
it can be done.
I ask you
Yeah.
this every 7th podcast. Which is the underworld that's like Romeo and Juliet? That's the one I like.
Oh,
Michael Sheen is the werewolf, and it's like back in ye olden days. I think-
the third one, Rise
Yeah.
of the Lycans.
oh, I like
Yes.
that one a
Good.
lot.
I like that
I
one
like
too,
his-
actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rona Mitra is the vampire. Anyway, the number 3 is it for me. I like that one a lot.
Fair enough. I always forget about the third one. The third one's good
I mean,
too, though.
I mean, to me, so long as they don't go Twilight werewolf, I'm good.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Show me a werewolf in that movie. There were some big dogs. Show me a werewolf.
Show me a vampire. I saw a friggin' sparkly Easter egg. That's what I saw.
I saw a pickup baseball game. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I'm pretty sure the Red Sox won that year. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Less said about Twilight, the better. Oh boy.
Thank you, please. I mean, I got suckered into the second one, and yeah, I was thinking, okay, well, the first one was bad. But, you know what? It'll get better. No.
No.
Isn't it so sad?
They got so much
movie
worse.
Movie lovers always put their heart on their sleeve, and they're like, "I think it'll be good.
Yeah.
I'm going to
See,
give it a chance."
So I'll admit, I went to the movies and saw all of them, but the reason it was basically always a girls' night out. So we always made a point. We would go get dinner, we would go get drinks, and we would go into it like we knew we were gonna make fun of it. Like we were like the annoying people in the theaters, like talking shit, and and the 13-year-olds. I don't care how many of them there were, they weren't shutting me up. Like, oh my god, Edward. We were like, yeah, we were very mean. We might have been a little drunk.
You're literally my nightmare when I go to the movies. You are my nightmare.
But for Twilight.
All right. You got a point. Look, if I was alone in the movie theater watching Twilight, that would be a problem in and of itself. Okay.
Yes, it would.
But I think taking a few drinks before, I think that was the right approach.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was a fun girls' night out, and then we walked out like hysterical laughing, like we're like so stupid, like it was just like, so to me, like I don't enjoy any of those films, but I do enjoy the experience that we purposely, went to.
Yeah.
So
good girls' night out for sure.
Yeah. So there's that, and then I never had to see them ever again.
There you go. And just heads up, Daisy loves those films. She's read every single freaking novel. She's read them all. She saw the movie. She cried, and she's going to be pissed that I mentioned
Joe,
this,
nothing makes me happier than you giving us a little behind the scenes knowledge on Daisy before she comes on the podcast. I'm going to have like a little Edward doll while she's talking. I'm just going to be like, what?
There you go. Shine a little light so you get the sparkly stuff on his face. That would be great.
Maybe I'll even do myself in glitter.
You will never get it out, and that will be your you will look like that for the remainder of this podcast.
Tempt me with a good time, why don't you?
Dedication.
All right. Look, Joe, this is what happens every single episode. We have to land the plane on the Howling. So let me just wrap it up. I'm just going to wrap it up quickly. Okay, guys, so the Howling comes out, and it actually is a great success. And it's a $1.7 million budget, and it makes 17 to 20 million, which is a certified hit. And it gets sweet babyface Joe Dante Gremlins.
Yeah.
Spielberg takes notice, and he's like, how would you like to direct a movie about some little adorable creatures that maybe are more than what you think? And the rest is history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he even
I
did a
mean,
little calling card right on the refrigerator. He had the little smiley face.
yes,
sure
he did. I
did.
saw that. Yeah, yeah. I'm
Thought
like,
that was a nice little boop, nice little touch.
Boop, boop.
yeah. Well, that's how the whole Toby Hooper poltergeist thing happened as well because of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right,
Mm.
right.
We are actually, I'm so glad you brought that up. We're actually doing Poltergeist, I think next week. I think
Oh,
Shannon and I are, no, sorry, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks. And then we may wrap up because we're doing our clown trauma month right now. So we've got Killer Clowns posting this Thursday, and then we're going to
oh,
do Poltergeist, and then I think we're going to do It. We're going to wrap it up with It. Maybe, I think.
Yeah.
oh, sweet, sweet. Yeah,
Yeah, right?
Daisy and
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
we recently did Poltergeist versus Poltergeist, the remake and the
Oh,
original.
the remake. I never
Oh,
saw the remake actually.
Yeah, you ain't missing much.
I heard
yeah.
that. So
But
that's
great
why
actors.
not in
Great
a rush.
actors.
Well, yeah. Was it DeWitt? I forgot her first name.
And Rockwell. I mean,
I love Sam Rockwell.
that's
But
but that's a crime, though. That is wasted talent. That's a
well,
crime that
well, it
movie's
was
as bad as it is.
yeah, it was just horror. It was just miscasting. Is what it was. First of
Freaking
all,
Jared Harris is in that movie, for
yeah,
Christ's sakes. I mean, they've got an insane cast and no result whatsoever.
Ah,
yeah,
it's a
Wow.
yeah.
shame.
We actually cut pretty deep into to both of them on that episode. So if you haven't heard it, check it
No,
out.
I haven't. No,
Yeah, I haven't listened to that one yet.
Joe, I'm going to dig into that one tomorrow.
Mhm.
It's. I do not like working out, and your podcast is getting me. Actually, your podcast could be solely responsible for making my life longer. So good on
Hey,
you.
yeah,
So
there
I'm
you
going to
go.
dine out on that one at the gym tomorrow, as I'm dreading every second of it. Not the podcast, the gym.
Okay.
Yes.
Guys, I do want to point out one thing. Oh, geez, it just went right out of my head. No, Joe, I wanted to tell you a little story. Okay,
Yes.
so 81, I was lucky enough to see American Werewolf in the theater, but I did not see the Howling. So just a couple of weeks ago, here in New York at the Film Forum, they did, ready for this lineup? Poltergeist, the Howling, and the Fog, and Carpenter's The Fog.
Oh,
So I saw Poltergeist, and then I saw the Howling. I finally saw the Howling on the big screen, and it's like everything that you want. It's just everything that you want
oh,
right in front of your eyeballs. The score was fantastic. It wasn't 35 millimeter, so I would have loved that because I don't mind a 35 millimeter print of anything from the 80s. It's almost going to be garbage, and you're going to get all those hairs and scratches, but I love it.
We
that's
love it
part of
though.
it's part of the
Oh,
experience. It's amazing.
It's so nostalgic.
shoot that
Yes.
shit right in my veins. I can't.
Uh,
I saw a print of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, 35 millimeter print that was so bad. It was so bad that one guy in the audience said, "I'm watching it on my phone if anybody wants to join me." But I didn't care. I didn't care. At one point, it did what like a 10th grade health class where the film actually goes like, and then
yeah.
the
Oh,
top frame shows up on the bottom, and I was just like, just show it like this the rest of the movie, please. Oh, I love
yeah.
that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, I got to see it in the theater in '81. A
Oh,
buddy of mine and myself,
jealous.
we took the bus. We went into downtown LA near Skid Row, found a theater, and we got out of there about 10 o'clock at night.
Oh
And
God, near Skid Row.
yeah,
Uh,
and yeah,
uh,
they were scarier than the werewolves. Trust me. And
yeah. I'd rather do with the werewolves.
Joe
but it was
actually met Eddie Quist.
you know what? Now that you mention it, he said, "Yeah, let me give you a piece of my mind." Um, but it was creepy. We walked out, and the streets are deserted. It's quiet. You just hear the wind going through the trees, and
But
we're
you'll never
trying
forget
to.
that experience.
Nope.
You'll never forget it.
Nope.
Amazing. And now
Yeah.
I was scared shitless, but I will always remember that experience. It was fantastic.
Joe, I'm
Nice.
so curious because I have to ask this because you're on the West Coast. Are there more revival theaters, or I should say, are there more retro showings? at theaters out by you. We get a decent amount here in New York, so we can't complain. But what's that like? Do you get a lot of retro showings?
Well, there aren't that many retro theaters out here that I know of. I know in LA there's a lot more 'cause, like, I live out here in Orange County by Disneyland,
Oh,
and
okay.
so it's
Oh, nice.
yeah, it's cool. And so, um, in LA, there's a lot more. There's a few retro theaters, but recently I've seen an uptick in like Regals and Edwards theaters showing older films for a couple. Like recently, I went to go see Close Encounters.
Beautiful.
So
Yeah.
so it's
That's
happening. I've
awesome.
noticed. So I don't know if it's a reflection of the fact that movies are slim pickings nowadays versus the 80s and the 90s, and they just gotta, you know, fill out and show the real movies that we grew up with. I mean, the good stuff. But I have noticed an uptick in that out here. That this, you got Flashback Wednesdays and stuff in some theaters, which is
Yeah,
great.
That's
the
fun.
chains are getting into it, which is great. And I got to give a shout out to the Alamo Draft House. Their retro lineup is always so strong.
Yeah,
They got a good always have a good calendar. And I
yeah,
mean, look, I know you're in Orange County, but you got the New Beverly in LA. They're
yes, I know
constantly.
that
I mean,
theater.
their
Yeah.
whole calendar is retro stuff, so that's great.
Yeah.
But
Well, thanks to you, you turned me on to the Alamo Draft House. There is one out here in where the Lakers play, LA Live.
oh,
And
nice.
Oh, cool.
I saw it on one of your posts. I'm like, I have to go. I have to go.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, full disclosure, we get no money from anyone. So,
Yeah.
we're just
Same
putting it out
here.
there.
Same here.
Yeah, they just actually do a really, really good job with their calendar, and they do deep cuts, and they do a lot of great genre stuff. So, look, if someone's putting the effort in, we'll always give them a shout out, and they do a really,
Thank
really good job.
Mhm.
cool.
All right, buddy. Look. I think we definitely we talked a little bit about the Howling, but mostly we had some fun just talking about stuff we love, which is how it always ends up.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Cannot thank you enough for coming on. Sinners, it's the Film Joe podcast. Joe and Daisy are amazing. Joe, I'm going to put links to all your socials and the podcast in the show notes. We're going to promote this on both our social medias. So you're going to see it on Instagram. You'll see it on Threads. I'll have it on TikTok. We're going to promote the hell out of this because we believe in you. We love the podcast. You're an fucking awesome, the best. So yeah, here you go. Woo, 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 woo.
I'm blushing again. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I
Can't
really,
wait to
really
have you back. Honestly, Joe, cannot wait to have you back. We are doing CUJO in the fall. All right. So
It's
you and
happening.
I'll coordinate a date on that.
done deal. Absolutely.
Huzzah.
And tell Daisy we said hi, and please, Daisy is absolutely invited as well. I feel like Daisy's going to be mad at us.
Probably no. No. But thanks again. I mean, this has been a blast. I mean, again, huge fan of you guys. You guys are amazing. Love your show. And
Thank you.
I had withdrawals last week because you guys were out for a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just dropped off the
Like-
face of the planet.
Yeah, I need my horror fix. Where are they?
Well,
we're getting them back. We're getting
Yeah,
back there.
we're back, and I've got an editing lineup like you wouldn't friggin' believe. So, no, we got some horror goodness coming your way. We got a lot of shortcut episodes to keep you up to date on what's out there because it's getting exciting. It's getting spicy out there. So, yeah, no, we got you. I promise.
Awesome. Can't wait.
You were fantastic, buddy. Cannot wait until we can do this again.
Oh, same here. And by the way, you guys got to come on our show. We'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Tempt us with a good time, my man. You just say, look,
Seriously.
you and I will communicate. We'll DM each other, and you just let us know what works, and we'll be there.
Awesome. Sounds like a plan.
All right,
Yay.
Joe. We'll see you later, buddy.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you. Thanks again. Had a blast.
All right.
Anytime.
That's a cut.
Hey, you just listened to the latest episode of Sinful Cuts. We hope you enjoyed listening to it just as much as we enjoyed making it. If you did, we would be thrilled if you'd head on over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave us a rating and a review. We take them seriously, and we check them all. They go a long way toward not only making the podcast better, but also to get the word out on Sinful Cuts. We're also on YouTube. We would love it if you'd subscribe to us over there, and then you can watch our sweet little faces as we do what we love, talking about horror movies. Until Until next week, when we're going to have a brand new chiller for you, please put kindness out into the world and get your scare on.